Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, it is my privilege to welcome a very dear friend from Washington, D.C., Wayne Berson. Wayne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Great to be here.
Thank you. Wayne is the CEO of BDO USA. He's the chairman of BDO International. He's been recognized and awarded several times globally. He has been in the top 100 most influential and powerful business leaders in Washington, D.C. And for me personally, he and I served on the board of Gavi for 8 years, and that's how he became a very dear friend. Wayne, tell me, what would you say are 3 key milestones in your life or career?
Thanks, Ashutosh, and it really is an honor to be with you today. And I share those thoughts about Gavi and how we work together in helping some of the underprivileged countries get to a vaccine.
Correct.
I would say, in terms of if I had to pick three key milestones, first was moving from South Africa originally to the US. So you move to the land of opportunity. It's an opportunity to create something. My wife and I had recently got married, and we wanted to create a better future. That would be number one. I'd say number 2 was getting established in the public accounting profession in America, which ultimately led to me, as you said, being the CEO of BDO USA. And if you remember, I was with you in Geneva when I got the call about that. So that was very interesting to be sharing that with you.
And I remember we celebrated as well.
So when you think about taking on a firm that I would view as a very successful, what was then 102 years old, 102-year-old successful firm that was really good, but there was potential. And my goal and vision was to transform the firm into a 21st century powerhouse.
Okay.
So we've grown. Those 8 years took us from 600 million to just under 2 billion.
Wow.
We've had a growth rate of around 200%. It's the largest increase in public accounting history outside of a Big 8 becoming Big 4 merger.
Okay.
So that to me is certainly one of the highlights of my career, is how we grew the firm. And then I would say, on a personal note, I've always been an avid runner, and running marathons, that's probably another milestone, being able to fit it in.
I remember when we were just about recovering and getting up early in the morning, you'd finished a run around the Geneva Lake. So
Let's
I'm
getting older.
Well, never too old to run, and you're very fit. So let's move to BDO. I mean, you've built it from a $600 million organization to just under 2 billion. What are your challenges in managing a global business?
So BDO US is around 2 billion in revenue. BDO internationally is about 11, and we're in 167 countries. So it's trying to keep control of 167 countries that have different cultures and how they all look at business in their country. They also have different interests that they pursue in terms of services that an accounting firm will provide, and different laws. So it's staying connected to those companies. It's staying as let's call it the arbiter of calm. You have to be calm as you deal with all these other countries, because you have to understand first what it is that they're trying to accomplish in their country before you try and impose your ideas on them. So I would say that is a big thing. And I grew up, my father was a pilot, and I learned to fly, and you have to be calm as you do it. So I like to think of myself as someone that is calm and listens first before responds. And I think that's the key to running a global multinational country, because everything is relationships. It's all about relationships and staying connected to others.
Very good. And what about culture? I mean, how do you manage different cultures in different countries?
That's the hard part. Culture is always very different because what works in one country doesn't always work in the other 166 countries. But culture to me is where it all starts. It's all about culture. And without a culture, you really have nothing. So for us, what's been important is making sure that we have the right people in place. And then once you got those people in place, you can always build out a plan for your company, a roadmap as to where you want to go if you have the right people. If you have people that are not interested in only them. That to me has always been the key, getting team players. You know the book Good to Great by Jim Collins?
Yeah.
He talks about getting the right people on the bus. Well, my management philosophy has always been getting the wrong people off the bus.
Wonderful.
And when you have someone that's a cancer to your organization, it doesn't help to have them on your team because other people look at you as the leader and say, look what you're tolerating. So it's having the right people and creating a culture of approachability. People must feel comfortable coming to you with issues, and then you meld it all together.
That's terrific. And as you look back at your last 8 years and you're in your third term, and hopefully moving on to the next term after that, what, in your view, are the most important qualities a CEO should have to run such a diverse business?
You know, I think any CEO has to have, successful CEO has to be able to think strategically. They've got to be collaborative, got to bring people in. I always say people won't follow me because I'm the CEO. They're going to follow me and follow any other CEO if they trust you, they believe in you, they like you. Then they'll follow you. And I've always felt that a CEO needs to be able to be out there representing their people, their team, and share the successes. Too many leaders you see around the world who, when things go well, they raise their hand. That was me. When things go bad, it was him.
Yep.
And that doesn't work. You've got to be able to take the bullets when things go wrong. The other thing I would say is empathy. Being able to be an empathetic person. And this is very important, really crucial when you deal with all the different countries, because you don't know what someone's culture is.
Correct.
And when they respond in some way. So I always feel you've got to sit back. Sort of like Stephen Covey said in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, seek first to understand.
Correct.
So you need to understand what it is. Put yourself in that person's shoes and work through it with them. But I think having a vision, having an understanding of where you want to go, and then being able to articulate that vision in a clear, concise manner to your team, that's important for any CEO.
Terrific. What a great answer. So, you hire a lot of people across America, of course, and must be involved in other senior people around the world. What do you look for when you are hiring people?
Core values and a vision, that core purpose. Our goal at BDO is to help people thrive. When we say we want people to thrive every day, that's the BDO people, it's their family back at home, it's our clients, and it's the community at large. Because I always believe that you have to give back to community. You've got to do something. Be a good person. Being a good person is good in many ways. First of all, it helps your business, but put that aside for a minute. You need to be a role model for your family and for other people in the community. And when they see you doing good stuff, putting back into the community, that's important. So it's people that believe in those values. It's easy to say, what are your values? Honesty, integrity, and all that. That's easy. But it's got to go further than that, because that's a given. It's at heart, are you really a good person? Are you someone that you want to spend time with and that you trust and you're going to divulge important information to? So I think that's something that I feel is important when hiring people. You want to be able to coexist with them. And there's nothing better than looking at going out, having a drink, a meal, playing golf, doing things like that with someone. Would you want to do it with that individual? And when I started off in public accounting, I had a mentor, and he said to me once, an important test for you about the place you work at is think about you and your wife having a dinner party. And I say to you, Wayne, I want you to invite people to the dinner party. If you can't fill your dining room table, you're at the wrong place.
Okay, well said. Yeah. Very interesting. So, let's move on. You have grown BDO very significantly, and I've been watching you through acquisitions. What are the challenges you or any other organization faces when you acquire a business?
Ashutosh, it's very interesting as I've watched our competitors grow, and in some cases not grow. I've looked at the situation, and when I laid out the vision for the firm, we operate with three drivers in mind. We want to grow our top line. It's important to grow the top line revenue because margins are shrinking in the world today. Things are a lot more expensive. So we have to grow our top line and make it an absolute dollars. It's not getting bigger for just bigger sake. It's getting bigger strategically. Second thing is we want a world-class people environment. And the reason it's got to be world-class is when you get a good person, and I know you've been a tremendously successful entrepreneur, businessman in your career, if you have a good person, you'll find the job for that person. And so often people say, well, we don't have a spot. You're good, but we don't have a spot. Well, we try to find spots for people. And the other thing is around a world-class people environment, you need to decide who's on your team and who's not on your team and make those moves, because when you tolerate people that aren't part of the team, it affects you as well. The third driver is a sustainable business. We want to be a sustainable business for another 100+ years. And in order to do that, we have to think of the future, what's out there. And we've spoken to futurists, we've read a lot about what's going on in the history and, recession, the booms and the downs and all that. In order to do that, you have to be ready for this. So that's how we do it. It's top line revenue, it's world-class people, and a sustainable business. But acquisitions, to me, is finding talent that you didn't have in a quicker way. We've grown, as I said, approximately 200%, and that's like from 600 to 2 billion. That's a tremendous growth. In order to do that, what's really interesting is the buy-in from our board of directors as to making these moves. But what's also important to remember is the growth, 61% of that growth is organic. 39% is only expansions. So a lot of people think it's all acquired revenue. It's not. So let me tell you about it, the inorganic revenue. What happens is we buy a firm, and it's from, let's say, from here to here are the services that they provide. Now they're part of a larger organization. You stretch it to there. So now we're providing, instead of providing one or two services to a client of the target, we're now providing 4 services. So we are getting a larger spend from that client than we would have before, and also what that firm could have done. So I look for firms in the right geography. I look for industry. Part of our strategic plan looks at the market and where the industries and the market come together in terms of BDO strengths. And I look at it and say, okay, we need to expand in this jurisdiction.
Okay.
How do we go about it? And these are the firms, we have people. So it's worked out really well. But I think what is really important is sometimes we take on work that is outside of our traditional work. I'll give you an example. The beginning of 2019, we started having our discussions inside my executive team, my key group of leaders. And we said, you know, things are going too well. They have to change. And we acquired a crisis management firm. Okay. Don't ask me why crisis management, but we thought it may be a good thing to buy.
Yeah.
And so today, that crisis management firm that's part of BDO helped design our recovery plans as we work through COVID. And they've also gotten engaged new business. We are doing all the work for all the major hospitality chains. But if I give you the name, you're going to know the name. All the major chains, we are doing that work. So that was one deal that you got to be prescient in a sense to do this. Another one was, there was tremendous M&A taking place. And in the middle of 2019, we acquired a business restructuring firm. The thought being, if a recession hits, we're going to need to be ready, and we need to be able to work with companies that are struggling. So, you know, I think these are the things you got to be thinking outside of
incredible foresight. I mean, you know, to think of these kind of needs of a firm when you don't need it.
Right, and I think, but that's what I feel in business. Too many people think that they have all the right answers, and my approach has always been, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I want people that are cleverer than me, that can surround me and help me with these decisions. And that's what I think is most important for a leader, where you can admit others know more than you.
So that gives me an interesting segue into my last question on BDO before I move to the next segment. You know, such amazing success in BDO. What would you say is your leadership style?
I think it's a style that is very collaborative. It's a style that listens to people. It's empathetic, where I'm looking to see what is the other person really getting at before I respond. But at the same time, I have to be able to lay out a vision. And my vision has always been transforming the firm into this powerhouse I mentioned earlier, and creating opportunities for synergy between the various groups inside BDO. We provide a lot of services, and through those services, we can help other business lines inside BDO get work if we can talk to the client about the full menu of services that we provide. Right. Previously, we were too siloed, and now we're working more as a team and helping each other. That, to me, that creating that synergy, and then you got to think, well, how do I create synergy? It comes back to compensation and incentive schemes, and how do you encourage someone to go down that road? So all that's got to be built, and then the evaluation system's got to play a part in that. I think when you put it all together, it comes from listening to people. I have a lot of, I'm going to do later today, I've got a listening session with about 15 people, and I'm doing about 20 or 30 of these discussions with lower level staff. I think it's so important to engage with the lower levels in the firm. We have, in the US, we're 7,500, we're 88,000. But I want to talk to people. I want to find out what's on their agenda. This is a tough time we're going through during COVID, and people are stressed out. But I think it's really important to engage with the younger people, and I've got these sessions where I'm talking to them. You know, you got millennials, you got Gen Z, you got all these different age groups that you've got to cater to. So I want to find out, give them an opportunity to engage with me. And I always felt that as a CEO, I still need to be able to reach everyone. I can't just deal with the partners at the high level and be aloof about that. So
very interesting. So I'm going to now move to a few questions for you personally. I've got time for maybe a few questions. My first question, as you look back at such a successful life, is what does success mean to Wayne?
I think a success to me is about people in our team succeeding. It's helping people thrive, both from a professional as well as a personal side. So we like to help people, engage with people, talk to people about their aspirations and how they can become better at what they're doing. And that to me has always been a success, more than, let's say, a material success. But we are people first, but I think it's the same way inside my own personal family. Just like in your family, the people aspect is so key, and it's wanting to spend time with people. So it's helping people thrive. One of the things I enjoy is talking to individuals and they tell me what they would like to do. And this could be the firm or family. And then trying to help them think through a plan of, well, how do you get to that? Are you happy doing what you're doing? Is there something else you want to do? And then I get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing people succeed that way.
Fantastic. My next question is that, again, as you look back, where do you draw your inspiration from?
That's a good question. I think it comes from our people. It comes from our culture. But we are seeing people suffer tremendously during COVID, and seeing the stories and the anguish from some of these families that are losing loved ones and unable to see loved ones. That says to me, keep pushing, try and do good work, try and help. But one of the drivers for me is when someone tells me I can't do something. That's my inspiration. So you only got to tell me. That's how I started running marathons, was someone told me I couldn't run a marathon.
So time for a couple of more questions.
Sure.
My next question is, and you mentioned you have a young granddaughter. So if you, Wayne, were a role model to millions of children who closely followed you and your life choices, what is the one thing you would change in yourself?
I think it's always a compliment when someone says you're a role model for them. If I had to change something, it would be doing less travel. Pre-COVID, recognizing that we're now at the end of October and I haven't flown on an airplane since March. I've been at home. I think my wife Sandra Lynn is ready to throw me out. But that's what I would change. I've been able to interact with my granddaughter and the rest of the family in ways that I would never have been able to do if my regular job was like that. So a typical week for me would be at least 3 days gone, living in a hotel somewhere. And sometimes it's more. If I travel to Asia, it's going to be a lot longer. So I think what I would change is the lifestyle and be able to manage my schedule around me versus being reactive to the job, and creating those people to help me do that.
Terrific. And my last question to you, a lot of young people will see your and my conversation, they will listen to it.
Right.
What would you advise a young individual starting out on their careers, say in the accounting world?
I think I would say be open to change. In 2020, if you only go back 5 years, it was very different. Think about when we started our careers, how different it was.
Yeah.
And it's going to change. The next 5 years, it's going to change so much from what happened from 2015 to 2020. So I think someone coming in, I would say, be open to change. You've got to embrace change. Recognize things are evolving all the time. Be ready for the unexpected. You need to embrace unexpected too. Nothing is delivered to you on a silver platter. You've got to be able to earn something. You've got to work hard to get to where you need to go. And you know, lastly, I would say lead with purpose. Have an idea what you want to become. Don't waffle. Don't go in a million directions. I always have felt that it's a lot better to be an inch wide and a mile deep than a mile wide but an inch deep, and there's no substance.
Very, very well said. Wayne, thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you, and I wish you lots of success in everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Ashutosh. My honor being on your show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.